Hello, guys, welcome to the Hazy Mornings. This is Terry, and today we're talking about how to turn abstract ideals into a tangible reality. So, if you're interested in psychology, philosophy, esotericism, spirituality, metaphysics, whatnot, this is some kind of foundational video because we will be talking about how to make sense of these concepts as tools that we can apply in our daily lives for our daily growth, our development. And yeah, this is the first episode of this kind of podcast. So thank you for anyone tuning in. I'm really glad to have you here. And yeah, before diving into the topic, I'd like to, since this is the first episode, I'd like to explain a little bit about how this works. So I see this as a lo-fi podcast. I got inspired to open this channel because of other content creators that talk about topics that I care about. And because of how soothing I felt to have this kind of content that was less structured, without a script, and still diving into maybe profound or complex topics. Yeah, it felt like making sense of topics while also having a friendly conversation. Or, yeah, of course, just washing my dishes, doing my chores, and whatnot. So, okay, let me start this with a story. In the thumbnail, I wrote "Touching the Ether" because that is the title of another podcast that I will start with a friend. That one is in Spanish, so this is the English version of this content, English and lo-fi version, I guess. Yeah, yo, you can hear. Yeah, this is what I meant with lo-fi. Y todo tipo de chatarra que no sirvan. I hope it's more silent for the rest of the video. Shout out to Mexican bedroom musicians trying to make a song just to record something. Oh my god, okay. I didn't plan that, but yeah, the audio's back. And yeah, that's what I mean. I don't have a studio, and but I really care about these topics that we're talking about here, right? So yeah. Okay, quick side note before continuing with the next portion of the video. While recording that portion, I realized that I missed a key insight, and I was about to just re-record it, but I realized that it is in the very nature of this exercise that we linguistically ramble about a topic until we have a concrete synthesis of it, right? Just keep that in mind and probably observe as I try to ramble about this topic and until I make sense of it. And yeah, when I make better sense of it, I will re-upload the video with a better explanation. So for now, I hope you guys just enjoy. I wanted to upload, so I'm really excited to do this video and have a better grasp of how to communicate in the next ones. So yeah, let's get into it. Basically, with the story of the podcast that I'm starting with my friend, we are passionate about all these topics, and we really believe that we can reframe the way we discuss them because, well, the nature of these topics is that they are conceptual, they are abstract, they are intangible, and everything, any word that you can assign it related to something that is difficult to grasp. And we want to flip that around and talk about how we can make sense of them by understanding it first conceptually, not necessarily with through the scientific method, because even some of the topics that we are going to be talking about already have scientific validation, such as meditation, right? But not every form of meditation has this kind of analysis, maybe. And we believe that through talking about these concepts that are already out there, we can make it more culturally known and perhaps easier for the collective consciousness to grasp, right? And and okay, so some of the topics that we'll be talking about in that podcast and here as well are meditation, the nature of the psychedelic experience, philosophical topics that have influence on us, like stoicism, minimalism, and how they are practiced in our daily lives. I'm gonna come up with a list of examples because I think this one is kind of lame. Spiral dynamics, the debate of free will and determinism. Yeah. I'll list them in the description so you guys know what kind of videos are coming up. So, we chose the word ether because we realized that it is the main symbol of what we're trying to make sense of. Something metaphysical that does have an influence in our daily lives, into our lifestyle even. And yeah, our behavior, our lifestyle, these ideas turn into something tangible. So I'm gonna exemplify how we analyzed the word ether and how to apply that same kind of analysis in order to make sense of all the other topics in this channel, right? Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is to understand the etymology of a word and the nature of it. And before starting with the word ether, I'd like to bring the example of the word energy, because it's something that we mention all the time. Yeah, I feel a bad energy from this person, or I'm just managing my interior energy, or it's like some energy that I feel with a connection with everything that makes me feel some state of well-being. And yeah, I love those kind of concepts, but I know that we can make sense of what really is energy to have a sophisticated understanding and management of it. And yeah, and how, if we know energy as well through science and apply maybe holistic ways of analyzing, not pseudoscience, but if we really know how it transforms and how it is transmitted in all kinds of mediums, we can realize this complete framework. Oh, okay, it's me from the future, pretty quick here. I think a good example of this comprehension of energy is a video by Veritasium, where he talks about how salt lamps are said to exert negative ions, which is a physical phenomenon that has very good effects in our mental or overall health. And how he disproved this, because he just put a salt lamp in a device that measures negative ions, and he saw that there's nothing happening there, and how it is often commercialized as something that helps people. But it is true, yet it is true that in environments where there are negative ions, people report feeling happier. And there's research, probably, I think, that supports that. I don't remember. But the thing is that, yeah, he mentions examples of like going to nature where there's a lot of movement, like from the sea, from water, or other places. Yeah, I think that's very good to learn to discern between what is real and what is not, and how we can still, when even when dismantling a belief, we can still understand the true part of it. Okay, so I'll link that Veritasium video in the description, and yeah, let's get back to the topic. Yeah, with the word ether, we know that it comes from Plato. He first coined it to describe some kind of element that transmits light, and then it was formalized by Aristotle, who localized it among the other physical or material elements. Okay, so ether is this intangible element among these that has a direct influence over the others. So that was our first insight, that the ether is something that we can't make sense of, and maybe is not tangible, such as the mind, for example. We have the brain, which is physical, and we have the mind, which is the space or the conceptual, the concept that we have of all these neural interactions in which we can trace diagrams of how our cognitive schemas work. And it is the intangible part that when we make sense of it, it helps us definitely navigate our lives. And so after that first insight, then we tapped into the history of the concept. We investigated stuff like Einstein trying to make sense of the ether, or maybe the Higgs boson being probably a field that that has these ethereal properties that we cannot touch but interacts with our reality. Oh, this is Terry from the future. I forgot to mention the concept of the lattice by Jacobo Greenberg, right? That one's pretty nice. And we also stumbled upon Plato's, again with Aristotle's metaphysics, and how they, this concept of helomorphism, where there is a difference between matter and shape. That helped us realize how malleable reality is, and that how that for us represents a way of touching the ether. Because when so let's first explain. Matter is the fundamental unit, or the fundamental constitution of something, and its form or its shape is the way in which it is arranged, either by some natural cause or by humans artificially. So we often think that our reality, the shape of our current reality, is already fixed, and we don't realize that when we deconstruct either social perceptions or our historical understanding of something or any concept, when we deconstruct it, we find that there's something more fundamental that we can use about it. And perhaps the shape that we have of it currently, it's some kind of symbolic illusion, or just a version of it that can be used in actually many other ways. And yeah, for us, that's sort of the key to finding reality as something malleable, at least not in a very esoteric or crazy sense using telekinesis or something. Telekinesis? I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, I'll research later. So a good example of something that I'm going to give two examples. First, the mind. The mind is something that can be malleable. Because we have the brain, everybody has the same genetics, but everyone can learn different things and change their minds. If you have the same classroom and someone is teaching the same subject, but you have two different teachers, the mind of one teacher might have a different impact on the classroom than the other. And yeah, the mind of someone can really turn something like a topic of class into something meaningful, fun, and influential. So another example of something that is very malleable is the concept of our everyday lives in our homes. Basically minimalism. And I really like this example because it tells how we deconstruct the meaning of every object that it has in our house, that we have in our house. And not necessarily it's about emptying, but when we understand the fundamental concept of minimalism, which is all these philosophies related to Stoicism, Daoism, existentialism, or even absurdism, we understand how important it is to deconstruct the reason why we have all these objects in our house. Because they're often symbols that represent well-being for us, or that represent something that fills meaning into our lives, when it's actually a desperate attempt to feel like we're surrounded by something good when we lack maybe human connections or community connections or meaning into our work or anything else, right? Anything related to our emotions. And when you have this inner peace, it starts showing in your house. It's not just a rule, minimalism, that you have to follow. It's something that is deep in the mind and is represented in our reality. And minimalism is often seen as just something that happens in your house and interior design kind of stuff. But that is just a tangible, or not tangible, but the most graspable version of what we can conceptualize when it comes to minimalism. That's why it's so popular in that way. But when we see how it is manifested in other areas of our reality, we see that it also relates to our schedules, our agendas, how much we allow ourselves to make space for things that really matter, or our relationships, and how much we how important we think that time is with certain people. And that's where those are things that are hard to put into a picture, right? Because that's what makes it harder to popularize as an idea. So yeah, those are two examples of how malleable our reality is and how much it changes when we have a different state of mind. So yeah, I'd like to end this video with a question or a little exercise for you guys to use this same kind of thinking that we'll be using for the next videos. Think of a topic that you like as something abstract that you would like to make sense of. It can be anything. Again, it can be from psychology, philosophy, spirituality, esotericism, metaphysics, I don't know. Like maybe analyze paranormal activity that you've seen happen sometime in your life, or some philosophical concept that you really liked but don't really know why you like it even, or how it affects your daily lives. Or yeah, just get curious about any topic in any other domain and investigate this etymology of the keywords. Try to make sense of the topic through language and maybe even share it with someone else, because I think that's very magical when you share it, and share it with the intention, with the declared intention of seeing examples of how that happens in your daily lives, how these ideas or concepts show in your lifestyle, in your behavior. And yeah, just I hope you guys, I hope it this video makes sense. I'll probably be repeating it because this is the first time I record it, or clarifying any questions that you might have in the comments. I'll answer them. Or even if you have suggestions for a subtopic of this, I'll gladly make another video related to this specific topic. So yeah, let's wrap it up here. I hope this really works for you. I hope you really like it, and you can like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next one. Yeah.